So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
Face Off. Vince, where does this masterpiece rate on your Cageometer?
I'm torn. Is it entertaining? Yeah. Is it fun at times? Yeah. Is it funny at times? Yeah. Do I think any of those things were intentional? No. So for the film, I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. I
3. Wow.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed because I really felt like looking through nostalgic glasses would have made me like this movie more. But God, I just couldn't I couldn't wait for it to end. I don't remember it being so awful. And like I told Patrick, I was like, I at one point I had to stop and ask myself, like, what the fuck is it even about? Like, I totally forgot that there's supposed to be some kind of plot because they're building up to like he's got to try to get the information about the bomb, and then within 10 seconds that information's over, and then it just becomes like nonsense after
just
that.
him getting his life back.
Yeah, just like pointless story that doesn't really leave me feeling rewarded. So I just kind of felt like there was a lot of potential here, and they just didn't nail it. As far as Cage for his performance, I'll give him a 5. I think it was middle of the road. I don't think he was awful. He definitely didn't do as good of a job as Travolta did, like recreating Travolta's mannerisms.
Yeah.
But it was fun watching essentially 2 Nick Cages in the film. And I think he did a pretty decent job at not going too over the top when he was supposed to be Sean Archer, and dialing it back a little bit instead of going full cagey like he was as Castor.
I feel like this is between this and Vampire's Kiss, these are the 2 movies that really gave him the reputation of the over actor. And
yes, yeah, definitely. But there were times where I totally forgot it was him on screen playing this guy who's another guy who's a dude who's another dude. So I mean, like, middle of the road performance. I personally think could he have done better capturing some mannerisms? Yeah, but I didn't really need it. I didn't lose anything. The movie was just ridiculous. So it just it's another popcorn film. Not great. Not awful. Maybe 3 is a little too harsh, but man, I just could not wait to fucking get this movie over and done with. So yeah, 3 on the film, and I'll give him a 5. I think just another middle of the road performance for him. Nothing special.
That's kind of how I described National Treasure offline to you guys. Was like it's like Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like, it's good, but it's definitely not their best song, and it just is baffling why people love that song and not all the other songs from Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Okay, Nigel, where
I'm a little more positive on this one than Vince.
Sorry. Nigel, where this is crucial. It's crucial that I say this. Nigel, where does Face Off rate on your Cageometer?
So I'm a little more positive on this movie than Vince was. I didn't expect to be based on the first 10 minutes of the movie. I thought it was just going to be an absolute train wreck. But
yeah,
what ended up being the case was that all of the action was ridiculous and stupid, and that movie kind of opens with a lot of dumb action and stuff. But I ended up enjoying the story a decent amount, a lot more than I thought it would, and the performances of both Nicolas Cage and John Travolta a lot. Like, I felt that was carried the movie more than everything else. For being a movie that's kind of billed as a blockbuster action film, I thought the action was pretty shitty, and like it just laughably weird. Like, it does feel like a parody of an action movie at the time, but I can't tell if that's just action movies by the late 90s swung so far into that they eventually got to the point where it was like indistinguishable from parodying themselves. And
I kind of feel like it. Yeah.
We kind of got to the point where we needed more realistic. And then, as the 2000s came on, action movies kind of toned it down a little bit. I think also like the rise of CGI in action kind of helped temper that like cheap, have a bunch of sparks everywhere as like explosions, makes it kind of feel cheap and dumb. CG can look bad at times as well, but also it can be used to kind of heighten things, make them look a little more realistic. So as far as the movie goes, I give it a 6 out of 10. I found myself enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would, and a lot more than I remembered. I think I saw this right after it came out, like on VHS. We rented it or something. I was probably 10 or 11 at the time. So the more confusing aspects of the plot were probably lost on me, trying to keep track of who's who and whatever. But yeah, the conundrum of this guy having his life stolen away and having to get it back, I thought was kind of a compelling narrative, more so than like, I thought it was going to be about, he's got to go into this, infiltrate this prison and get the information from his brother, and they'll have a whole chunk of the movie devoted to that. And I was actually kind of glad that they just sort of got that done and out of the way with, so they could move on to the rest of it. But
yeah. I think, on the surface, it's really stupid, but when you look a little deeper, it's kind of like, well, it's like he's lost his identity, since his son was killed. And actually, it's kind of more of a deep film than anybody really gives it credit for, which
and I appreciated that. I just feel like the action takes it down from that level. It could have been more of a thriller, movie, and had more of a serious tone to it, and been more of almost a horror movie.
I mean, to me, it was a horror movie in parts, especially like when he's like ogling the daughter in her panties and stuff. I was like, oh man. And then when he they just kind of gloss over it and don't really talk about it, but he literally raped Sean's wife like multiple times.
I don't think they gloss over it because it's a big point of friction between, it's a tragic thing that happens to both of them. But yeah, they could have dwelt on it more, and they didn't, which is probably a good thing, because it really would have changed
taken some people
the
out
tone of the movie.
I was here for fun. What the fuck?
Yeah. I just wanted to see Nick Cage doing funny things and Travolta doing funny things, and got a little real and creepy. I think the action scene actually worked to its detriment and lowered the score a little bit, because I was enjoying it quite a bit without all of that. So again, a 6 out of 10, pretty good, not great. That's where I let it. Cage's performance, I actually give him a 7 out of 10 on it, because I think he did a pretty good job, especially Nick Cage pretending to be John Travolta, pretending to be Nick Cage again in a couple of spots, especially when he first changes into Castor Sean or whatever, when he's in the prison and he's going through those facial expressions where he's like trying to figure out exactly how crazy he needs to act to sell it. I feel like there's multiple times where I see Sean Archer's character coming through Nick Cage, just as uninteresting of a character as he is. He does have certain mannerisms that Nick Cage, I think, captured. That Travolta, I should say, had certain mannerisms that Nick Cage captured in that. And that there is that emotional core of the movie of this guy having his identity stolen and trying to get it back. And I don't think that would have worked as well if Nick Cage hadn't been able to deliver that sort of sympathetic role that you get.
Yeah.
Again, I think Travolta did a much better job copying Nick Cage's mannerisms than Nick Cage did of copying Travolta's, but I don't know if there's more to go off of there, because it's Nicolas Cage and he has a lot of
maybe
roles where, he is a very distinct personality.
You could definitely see him, like, his character trying to do those crazy faces that Cage, and that's like, like we've said a million times on this show, like taken out of context. Yes, they're ridiculous and crazy and potentially overacting, but in context, it was Sean Archer trying to convince these people who would kill him if they found out that he wasn't who he said he was, that he is this crazy maniac who is just unhinged in every scene we see him in.
Yeah. And especially like the faces he makes when they go to the drug den and stuff, like the one on your coffee mug, it's like, it's funny out of context, him going like, ee, but like he's losing his mind in the scene. He's high on drugs, and he's also like having this identity crisis where he looks in the mirror and he just sees the guy who killed his son. And he's like, oh my God, like I'm dealing with these nefarious criminals that I've been hunting for half a decade, and you know, like, how am I any different from the guy I've been trying, who I'm literally look like right now? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he did a pretty good performance of playing both of those characters in the same character.
Yeah.
And sometimes both of those characters at the same time.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think, yeah, I watched an interview with Cage where he says, like, when they did that movie, like, you know, John would do the scenes and then he would copy him. So they would do it to each other. Like, here's how I would perform the scene as, you know, as Castor. And then Travolta would be like, okay. And then he'd do it as Travolta and stuff. So that was like how they sort of help work off each other.
Yeah.
So
I could definitely see him, Travolta especially, like, he really just, like, nailed exactly what Cage must have just done just right before then.
Yeah.
Just the walk and the mannerisms and the over-the-top way of talking and stuff.
Yeah, which, I mean, you gotta kind of give Cage credit for that. That's something, if you think about it, because he was
created a character, yeah,
delivering those characters, and then Travolta was just copying it. So.
Yeah, he created a crazy character that then Travolta had to embody.
Right. Yeah, because what, he's only that.
It's
character
a guy playing a guy playing a guy.
Because he's only that character for 10 minutes of screen time or something, right at the start of the movie, and then for the rest of the movie, you can still believe that it's that guy when Travolta's playing him.
On my Cageometer, I hate myself for this, but like, yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. It's very over the top and ridiculous, and the premise is stupid, but god damn it, it's fun. It's a really fun movie, and like, I actually really enjoyed watching it. I was like you, I hadn't watched it since probably the 90s, early 2000s, something like that. And probably, I'm sure like the first time I watched it was probably on like regular TV too, which this movie doesn't really benefit from being edited for TV. But I gave it a 6 as well. Like, it's not amazing, but it's like, I don't get why the rating is so high. I don't get why it's 7.8 or whatever, but I get why people gave it more credit than on the surface you could give it, because it's on the surface it's a stupid movie with crappy action and just over the top everything. The performance is over the top, action's over the top, the dialogue's over the top, the fucking stupid, you know, slow mo like zoom ins on characters' faces are over the top. Like, it's just it's just stupid. But he really did create like this whole different world, and it's so much fun. I don't I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. 6, you know, it's not like I'm not giving it a fucking 9. Obviously, it's not good, but it's not terrible. It's middle of the road, but slightly better. I mean, honestly, I still like, I know that it's not, but I still wonder, is this actually a spoof of action movies and meant to be a comedy? Because it is hilarious throughout the whole damn thing. There's so many moments that are just like funny as hell. And like the performance that John Travolta gives when he's like screaming at people and shit, it's just fucking great, man. I don't know. I don't like myself for giving it a 6, but I'm giving it a 6. Yeah. For Cage, I'll echo pretty much what you said. He was a dude playing another dude, pretending to be another dude. I mean, he's like Nick Cage playing John Travolta, playing Sean Archer, playing Castor Troy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty crazy feat to have pulled that off, and you believe it. Mm-hmm. And it pulls you into the scenes, you know, you feel it in his face, you know?
Yeah.
You know, especially like when he's in the drug den, the Dietrich's place, and he's having that little interaction where they're like talking back and forth, and he's like, it's because I sleep with his wife, you know, like that whole scene, aside from the 10 minutes of saying face off, you could really feel like him trying to figure out how he's going to navigate this whole situation. I mean, he's in the scariest place that this dude could possibly be in. And these are the people who are protecting him. These are the people who are going to take care of him. So it's like anything he does where he slips up, if he answers a question wrong, or if somebody calls him out on something and he doesn't remember it or whatever, like, you know, it's terrifying. So I feel like Cage really did a good job with that. And then his whole interaction with Sasha, you could tell how like confusing that whole thing was. And I think it's because of how confusing actual Castor Troy is to people, and the way that he treats people and the way he interacts with people. So he's, I really get the performance in that. And, you know, it's not the best thing in the world. Obviously, it's crappy, you know, action movie. I've never been a big fan of John Woo, but I feel like this is one of the better John Woo films. It kind of captures all of those things that John Woo does well in a way that's actually pleasing. Whereas I feel like, you know, like Mission Impossible 2, I feel like it did all the things that John Woo does well, but in a so over the top manner that it took me out of the movie and made me just hate it. It's the only one of those movies that I don't like. And it's just because of the over the top bullshit that's just constantly going on. Anyways, 6 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10 for Cage.